Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Lloyd, and I'm here to talk to you about Tulane School of Professional Advancement and our graduate degree and certificate programs. We're going to be joined by Dean Suri Deitch today. She's going to be talking through all of our different graduate offerings. So that includes master's programs as well as graduate certificates. We'll be covering a lot of ground today. So if there's any topics that you guys want to see covered, please make sure you're using that chat Q&A function so that we can ensure that we're getting to all of the content that's going to be really important to you.
All right.
Just to give a quick introduction, I'm going to turn this over to Dean Suri Deitch so she can tell you a little bit more about her background and what SOPA offers.
Great. Thanks so much for being on this webinar today. Like Chris said, my name is Suri Deitch, and I'm the Dean of the School of Professional Advancement, and I'm really excited to welcome you to the webinar. And you can see my bio there. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about my bio. But I've been Dean of the school for 3 years, and I can tell you that the work that we're doing at SOPA and the time we're in at Tulane University is incredibly exciting. And I hope that when you finish this webinar, you'll agree with us and want to be a part of it. So during the webinar, this is and you can see Chris's bio, he's our admissions associate, and then Madison Duncan, who is our social media and communications staff person, is also on and making sure that all our technical stuff works well today. So this is a general webinar about graduate certificates and degrees. And so we will try to address specific questions, and when we're not able to address specific questions, we will follow up with you individually to make sure that your questions get answered. And the best way to communicate with us is through the chat at the bottom of your screen. We'll take note of whatever you ask or comment there. And then, like I said, if we are not able to address it today, we'll follow up with you. So actually, the first thing we'd like to do is share a video with you about SOPA and SOPA's mission within Tulane. So Maddie, why don't you go ahead and do that? Thank you.
SOPA's mission is to offer high-quality academic programs at the undergraduate and graduate level to working adults and early career professionals in New Orleans and beyond.
What's exciting about the Tulane School of Professional Advancement is they're fast-moving, innovative, creative, using the latest technologies and methods of instruction to prepare students of today for the opportunities of tomorrow.
We are constantly innovating to make sure that the skills and knowledge that we offer in our programs are completely up to date with what is needed in industry.
It is the best education I can get in my particular field at the best value. And on top of all of that, I get to join the legacy that is Tulane.
When you leave the Tulane School of Professional Advancement, you have this incredibly rich set of experiences that you can bring to bear no matter where your professional or personal path takes you. You're not only participating in education, you're investing in yourself and your future.
Great. Thanks a lot, Maddie. So actually, Maddie, if you would go back to the agenda slide, I'll just talk a little bit about how we're going to do this webinar today, and what we're going to say about Tulane and SOPA. So you can see we start out talking about the School of Professional Advancement, our place at Tulane, a little bit about our history. We're going to go through and talk about, well, not talk about, but at least touch on each of our areas of graduate programs, degrees, and certificates, just to give you a very high-level overview. We'll talk about our student services and our focus in areas like excellent online education, career development, and success services for special populations, including veterans. And then we'll talk about the nitty-gritty of how to apply and our graduate admissions process and important things like tuition and financial aid. And then we'll see if people have any more questions. So just to reiterate for folks who've just gotten on, I'm Suri Deitch, and I'm the Dean of the School of Professional Advancement. And I'm joined by my colleagues, Chris Lloyd, who works with recruitment and admissions, and Madison Duncan. And welcome to our webinar on our graduate certificates and degrees. So Tulane is a very unusual elite private institution because it was founded as a medical school. So it was founded in 1834 as the Medical College of Louisiana with a focus on public health and infectious diseases of the time. And the predecessor school to the School of Professional Advancement was actually the third school created at Tulane after the medical school and the law school. And Tulane started offering college level coursework to working adults in the 1880s. So it's actually a unique university for having a focus on working adults and applied learning, while also being an elite Research One university, as the term is known. And so when you come to us, you get all the benefits of being in a school that is geared to a wide range of diverse students from all kinds of professional and personal backgrounds, with the hands-on service, the student focus, and the intimacy that in terms of interaction that you get from going to a private institution. And that's true whether you are an on-ground student in New Orleans or an online student. That is true in both cases. And then, like I said at the beginning, it's a really exciting time to be at Tulane. It is on an upswing in a major way. There's all kinds of exciting development. And in our school in particular, there's a lot of growth in our programs. You saw in the video highlighted the digital design program, which is an undergraduate and a post-baccalaureate program, and Homeland Security. So Lauren Andrus and Mike Antoine, who's a graduate of our Homeland Security programs, and actually, a graduate of our undergraduate program and a master's student, and is the Deputy Director of Homeland Security for the City of New Orleans. Those are the kinds of incredible students and alumni who we like to highlight, and we have lots and lots of those stories, and we hope you will join us and become one of our amazing students and alumni. All right, so we'll move on, and just to reiterate the focus on adults, working adults, and working with your schedule and the realities of your obligations on a day-to-day basis. We're tremendously flexible. We offer many graduate programs entirely online, and then a number of graduate programs that are a mix of online and on ground. And you'll see a little bit later in the presentation the specifics for each program, but it's also very clear on our website. So we have classes at the Uptown campus of Tulane in New Orleans. We have a campus in suburban Jefferson Parish in Elmwood, and then hundreds of classes that we offer online to students around the world, literally, with faculty from around the United States. And the courses that we offer at our campuses, for the most part, are afternoon, evening, and Saturdays. And although we have some students who take courses during the day, during the week, that tends to be in our Master of Liberal Arts program. Okay, next slide, please. So we do have a big focus on online learning, and I'll just describe real quickly the model that we use. So we use a combination of what's called synchronous and asynchronous learning in our classes. Our general structure is that the majority of the work you do on your own or in groups with peer students, and then you meet all together once a month. And that could be for a group project. It could be for primarily a lecture by the professor. It could be for a guest speaker. And we use for the asynchronous work, the work you're doing on your own, we use a lot of different kinds of interactions and materials to keep it engaging and interesting. So we might, for example, have a case study that is woven through several courses in the core of a master's degree or in a certificate, so it's consistent. So one example would be the city of Greenview, preparing, which is a fake city, but spelled in a nice New Orleans French fashion, that is waiting for a storm to come. And we're talking about all the different things that need to be done to be prepared for that in our Homeland Security program or emergency management. And then we have group projects. We have online discussion boards. We obviously have writing submissions that you will make. We have short presentations and video lectures that faculty will create as part of the course. And it's all meant to give you a range of different kinds of interactions and to keep things lively and relevant. And we have a real focus on bringing the field into the coursework. And so that's something that you'll see as well. Move on, please. We'll just show you real quickly. We use what's called a learning management system. That's basically the online platform to support all the coursework. It's called Canvas, and it's the best product in this area that exists right now. There are many different pieces that we add on to it, like video, like group discussions, etc. And we provide a lot of support to you so that you can learn to use Canvas effectively. And we provide a lot of support to faculty so that they can communicate with you effectively through Canvas. So this is just an example of a home screen that you see on the slide in front of you with all of the classes that you might have. We work through Canvas to communicate, and so that's really important to know that we work through Canvas to communicate, because it means that we can record everything. We can always go back and see, and you don't miss any information because it's coming to you through email, but then it's also in the system as well. Okay. So these are the 5 different areas where we have graduate degrees and certificates: emergency and security studies, humanities and social sciences, information technology, kinesiology, and a new program area that we're just setting up that we're really excited about, which is public administration. And then the next several slides will just touch real quickly on the degrees and the certificates that we offer in each of these areas. And you can see the icons that are after the name of the program tell you whether it is on ground or online, or can be done with both. And in some ways, this shows like a natural evolution of our programs. So our original program in this area is Homeland Security. Our Master of Professional Studies in Homeland Security is nationally ranked, and it is an exceptional program with a mix of full-time faculty and faculty who work in really interesting areas at high levels around the country in both the public and the private sectors. And so we built this range of programs off of that original program. and introduced the emergency management and security management master's degrees this past January. And then we also have graduate certificates. And one of the important things to note about the graduate certificates is that they are what's referred to as stackable, so that anytime you take courses in a graduate certificate, those courses can be applied toward a master's degree if you decide that you want to get the master's later on. And we'll touch on this a little bit later again in the presentation, but the admission standards for the graduate certificates are the same as the admission standards for the master's degrees. So it's completely it's completely even. You can go from one to the other very flexibly, in part because we have the same admission standards. But we're looking to provide you with the 4 courses that you need just to get depth of experience in one area, like sports security. But also, if you're looking for a full master's, which is the majority of our students, then you have the option to go deep and broad in the field and come out with that master's degree credential, while also having the ability to focus what you're learning in a particular angle of the field. All right, next. In the humanities and social sciences, we have a program called the Master of Liberal Arts. And it's our one non-applied graduate program. And it's a really special program because the faculty who teach in it are drawn from the best of the liberal arts faculty at Tulane University. They are incredible people who are renowned scholars in their fields, whether that is Jewish history or medieval studies or gender issues in sociology. And they teach for us because they love teaching adult students, and they love the diversity that they get in the classroom and in the student body when they teach in the Master of Liberal Arts. It's also the case that you can focus in the MLA program on a particular area of study if you have very specific interests. So we have students studying political science or French literature or whatever the case might be. It can be a point of access to courses across the liberal arts and sciences through the Master of Liberal Arts. So courses that are taught at the PhD level, but are also made available to MLA students. And that program is largely taught on ground at the Uptown campus with some online classes, which I think is a really great mix, especially for our adult students. All right, next program. Information technology. We have 2 master's degrees and several certificate programs. And this is another one of those areas where we have a lot of multimedia that is built into the program with case studies. We actually have a fake company that we have created to use as the case study that is interwoven throughout the coursework. It's called South Balance, and it is a New Orleans-based branded yoga mat company. And it's a really fun and engaging way to learn about all aspects of the business of cybersecurity or IT management in the corporate or public sector. So I see one question, which is the GRE required for the Homeland Security program? So SOPA does not require GRE scores for admission to our master's programs. And the reason why is that we don't think that the GRE is a useful measure of whether or not you're ready for graduate level work in our specific programs. And so we don't use it. We'll talk a little bit more about the admissions requirements in the admissions part of the presentation. I see a question about the master's in IT and cyber. So the question is it a research-based program? I would not describe it as a research-based program. It is a practice-based program, and there is hands-on work, but it's these are both management degrees, and so they require and assume that you have a technical background in IT or computer science. And so the applied component is really the management of those areas. So managing a staff of people who do coding, or putting together budgets for your company where you need to convince senior leaders that they need to make investments in cybersecurity systems, those kinds of things. All right, please go ahead and keep asking your questions as we go, and we'll try to address them if it now or later. Kinesiology is another area of study for us. The 2 master's degrees in this area are health and wellness management and sports studies. We're really excited about the sports studies program, which is kicking off this spring. So students being admitted now are going to be in the first cohort of the program, and the graduate certificates that are listed below are all within the sports studies program. And so you can actually earn 2 certificates and apply both of them toward the sports studies program, and then add 2 more courses to earn the master's degree. And then I'll just circle back to say, and I should have said this at the beginning, the certificate programs are all 4 courses, and the master's degree programs are between 10 and 12 courses, depending on the program. Okay, next slide, please. Public administration, like I said, this is a new program that we are introducing. We're starting student recruitment now for courses that are going to start in fall 2020. So likely most of you are interested in starting a certificate or a degree in January 2020. But for this program in particular, we are going to be opening up admissions for fall 2020. The program is in the process of being approved by the Tulane Board of Administrators, and then going to our accreditor, SACS, which is the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And the timeline that we've laid out is that all those approvals will be ready for us to start coursework in August 2020. And we're going to open up the admissions application for this program in early December. In every instance, we have targeted webinars where you can learn more about the specific program that you're interested in. In this case, we are starting the MPA webinars later this month. So if you're in our admissions system as having told us that you're interested in the MPA, you should have already received invitations to our first recruitment webinars on October 29th and November 5th. And again, we're really excited about the MPA. I'm especially excited because I'm going to be teaching in it. So great. If you want to go ahead. So we always like to talk about our student services because it's a really special feature of what we do, that we have academic advisement and career advisement and other kinds of program components that really are geared toward serving busy working adults. So you have a dedicated academic advisor based on the program that you're in. Our academic advisors are highly experienced. They work closely with faculty. They're responsive and supportive and just fabulous people, many of whom themselves have been working adults also in school, so they can relate to what you've taken on. We also offer, in many cases, credits for prior learning, which means that we can work with you to demonstrate that the knowledge that you gained through previous training or in the workplace is equivalent to coursework in the master's degree. And this is really relevant for the master's degrees. It's not something we do for the certificates. And if you work with us to develop a portfolio of your knowledge, then we have faculty evaluate the portfolio and basically grade it like you would coursework. And you can earn credit for the coursework for having demonstrated that prior experience and not have to take it as part of the master's. You can do that for up to 9 credits. We also have special agreements with certain organizations and agencies where we award credit for training that our students have undertaken. So for example, in the National Guard or in the Marine Corps. Those programs exist in some instances, and the curriculum of the training has been mapped directly to the master's degree. And there's a web page entirely about prior learning assessment and credits for prior learning on the SOPA website, and we can always respond to questions that you have. Our faculty are a mix of full-time faculty in the university who in many cases have industry backgrounds, in some cases have spent their careers in academic institutions at high levels, and people who currently work in the field. And that's a really great thing to have because you're getting the benefit of dedicated faculty who work with students at SOPA, and then people who are in the field and teach because they want to help transfer their knowledge to the next generation of leaders. And they are available not just to teach you, but to help you build your professional networks. And these are professional networks that will serve you for the rest of your career. And so the focus, because the vast majority of students come to SOPA looking to advance in their careers, we make a really special effort to help you with that. So not only working with the faculty and learning with them and making those connections, but also through our career advisor. So we have a dedicated career advisor at the school. She will do things like, she'll offer workshops that are both online and on ground that can help you do things like up your game with your LinkedIn profile, or create what's sometimes referred to as an elevator speech, where you can sum up your professional background and your story and your aspirations in a way that will be clear and concise and engaging for potential employers. She also works individually with students and is available to do things like review your resumes or your cover letters, give you feedback, all of that. And then on top of all this, and all this is just within SOPA, you have all the benefits of being a student and an alumnus of Tulane itself. So access to our alumni association, access to university-wide recruiting and job boards, and you are a Tulane alum and you have that with you for the rest of your career. And so everything that comes with that is part of what you have as part of your credential. I'll move on. So we have a pretty straightforward application process. In every case with our graduate programs, we have an online application that is basic information about yourself, a set of essays or narratives that we ask you to submit that basically give us a sense of who you are, what your goals are, why the program that you're interested in is relevant to your future and to your aspirations. There's an application fee, which is actually going to be waived for everyone who's on the webinar today as a gesture to thank you for participating in this, and as an acknowledgement that you've demonstrated interest in coming to SOPA by taking the time to be on the webinar. We require a clear photo of a government ID, and then we require transcripts to be sent directly from your prior institutions, from your undergraduate institutions. And there's information about how to do that on our website. And you can see that on the next slide as well. I'll say a little bit about our admissions requirements for our programs, for our graduate programs. So the basic requirement for admission to a SOPA graduate program is that you have at least a 3.0 undergraduate grade point average, and that your essays are strong, and that you make that you present yourself well, and talk about why this program is important to you and why you want to be a part of it. Specific programs have other requirements. So for example, the IT management and cybersecurity programs require a technical background, which you could have gotten through your undergraduate studies or through work in industry. And then other programs like the Masters of Public Administration, for example, having relevant volunteer or professional experience in the field is going to give you a leg up in applying for admission. The program directors, who are faculty who lead each of the programs, make the admissions decisions with a committee that typically includes an academic advisor. And in some cases, they will admit applicants who have less than a 3.0 undergraduate GPA. That could be because you're really convincing, because you have great industry experience, because you had an interview with them and they thought you seemed really like a compelling candidate. And typically what happens there is that you're admitted on a conditional basis so that you can take some initial classes and see how you do, and see if you're up to the challenge of graduate level work at Tulane, and then you continue on for the full degree on whatever basis you want, enrolling part-time or full-time. So we do conditional admissions for people with lower GPAs in some cases, and it really depends on the program again, and your interactions with the program director and advisor, which could be through an interview and could also be through the essays that you submit. All right, that brings us close to the end. We have a slide up in front of you that shows our application deadlines for spring, summer, and fall, which are consistent every year. January 1st is the application deadline for the spring. And you can see that for fall 2020, or sorry, summer application deadline is May 15th, and the fall application deadline is August 15th. I will say that if you're interested in a program, go ahead and start the application. Go ahead and start the application process. We can review your application with unofficial transcripts, and in some cases we'll even admit you before your official transcripts come in, because we've seen your unofficial transcripts and we know that you're a good fit for the program. And then we'll just require your official transcripts sent directly from the institution before you register for classes for the first term. I see another question about the GRE requirement. There is no GRE requirement for any of our master's degrees, again, because we don't believe that it's a meaningful measure of whether or not you are ready to do work in our graduate degrees, and so we just don't use it. we have a question about face-to-face appointments, and Chris Lloyd wrote back, and you can all see that. We're happy to have in-person and video and phone conversations with you, and email exchanges to answer more of your questions. And if you tell us through this chat or through email later on, we will be happy to follow up with you. I see a question in the Q&A about if you're admitted for summer, can you start in the fall instead? And absolutely, we do that with students, and are happy to make accommodations when we can. We typically can move your semester of starting. I see a question from Yvonne about what does an MPS stand for, and what's the difference between that and an MBA. So an MBA is a specific degree, a Master's of Business Administration. And so it is a very clear, well-defined degree. The Master of Professional Studies is a degree that we offer for most of our graduate programs. And it's basically an applied degree that shows that you have attained skills at the graduate level in the field in which you've studied. So if you graduate from our Homeland Security program, you have a Master's of Professional Studies in Homeland Security as an example. And that's what most of our master's degrees are. They are an MPS degree. And in some cases, like the Master of Liberal Arts and the Masters of Public Administration, for that field, there is a specific relevant degree. And so it really depends. I see a question about accreditation. So we are accredited by, so the highest level of accreditation in the United States is through regional accrediting bodies. And each region of the United States has an accrediting body. The Southern United States has the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And so I would say when you're looking at studying at the graduate level, I would always advise paying attention to who is the accrediting body for the institution that you're looking at. For public institutions and for private nonprofit institutions like Tulane, the accrediting body will pretty much always be one of these regional accreditors, and they're rigorous and demanding processes that we go through where the accreditor ensures the quality of the program and the standing and I guess the institution is solid. It's not going anywhere. There are other kinds of accrediting organizations. For example, for-profit institutions use other kinds of accreditors. And so accreditation is really important when you're making choices about where to go for graduate school. I see a question about master's degree fees. So if you go on to the next slide, you can see that our spring tuition is up here. We look at our tuition by credit. Generally, our courses are 3 credits. And actually, if you go to our website, we have a helpful tuition calculator that you can use to try to estimate what your tuition and fees would be. And we always also want to talk about the fact that many of our graduate students use federal and private financial aid, whether through grants or loans to help pay for graduate school. And that within SOPA itself, we also have some institutional aid and scholarships and discounts. And so that information is available on our website. We can help guide you a little bit through the process of figuring out how to apply for financial aid. There's a financial aid office within Tulane University that works with SOPA students to certify them for federal aid and for private aid. And they're really good at what they do. And then as well, we have staff at SOPA who can help give you a little bit of guidance along the way. You can see other information about our discounts and aid. I always like to highlight that we are a part of the federal Yellow Ribbon program. So for veterans who have access to GI Bill benefits to pay for graduate school, the Yellow Ribbon program, which is a mix of SOPA financing and federal financing, makes sure that any gap you have in covering your tuition is covered. All right. We see a question about follow-up time for admissions. So we generally process our applications for admission at the graduate level within a few weeks, and sometimes even less than that. If your application is complete, it will be sent to the faculty and advisors who make the admissions decisions for the program. And they make those decisions pretty quickly. Sometimes they'll just admit you because it's very clear from your application that you're a great fit for the program. Sometimes they'll ask you for more information or for an in-person or video interview before they make an admissions decision. And that's generally how it works. It's a pretty quick turnaround on the admissions process. The Masters of Public Administration, I think may take a little bit longer, but it will be within weeks that you'll get an answer on whether or not you have been admitted to the program. You can see a slide here about the credits for prior learning. I talked about that a little bit earlier, so we can move on. And that's it. So if you have more questions, feel free to go ahead and post them in the chat. Although if you post them in that weird Q&A thing at the bottom of the screen, we'll also look at them. And any questions that weren't addressed during the webinar, we'll go ahead and follow up with you. Chris, is there anything that you want to add? Anything I missed?
I think you covered everything, Suri. I just wanted to reiterate to any of our viewers that if you do have questions that are really specific to your circumstance, please follow up with me directly. Anyone that asked anything in the chat will be hearing from me with specific references to what their questions or topics of concern were. So we'll definitely make sure that if there's anything that we weren't able to answer today, that you will get those answers shortly.
Great. And I'll just finish by saying again that it's a really exciting time to be at Tulane University, that the School of Professional Advancement is a place where we put students first, where we focus on connecting you with industry and industry knowledge, and where we give you all the benefits of both our school and of a connection to Tulane, and that those connections follow you throughout your careers, whether you are online or on ground. And we look forward to seeing your applications for admission. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy days to be on this webinar with us today. And thanks to Chris and Maddie for helping make sure this worked. We look forward to being in touch with you. Have a great afternoon.